this place. I think I'll go back home. I think I'll go back home. I believe I'll go back home and acknowledge I've done wrong. My father saw me coming. He met me with a smile. He threw his arms around me, saying, "Here's my wandering child." My father told his servants, "Go and kill the fatted calf, and let us all be merry, for my son's come home at last." I think I'll go back home. I think I'll go back home.
Awesome pause. Hello. Oh, why is no one here? Usually takes a few minutes for people to get in here. There are people in here. We're on multi-platform, so there are people here. Hello, Miss Sarah. How you doing? Thank you for the heart me. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And the likes. Thank you very much for the likes. Yeah, we're on multi-platform. So we're on TikTok, YouTube. We're on Facebook and Kick. There are multiple. On multiple. You'll stay. All right. Cool. Stay. Hang out. It's great. You're here. I know you're here. I know you here. I've also got this live in the Discord. I've got the screen share up so that you can see the Bible verses. So if anybody wants to watch in the Discord, that is part of the Discord. It is a free voice channel, but please make sure yourself muted. Just so when you're in the background noise. There again. All right, guys, we're gonna get started in just a minute, and then we will just give enough people time to get in here real quick. What's up, Lee? How you doing, bud? Good day. It's not been okay. Work was pretty busy, which was fine. But we found out today that the alternator in my wife's car is fried. I got it down there. They went to test that I had to shut the car off and it wouldn't start again. So, so it happens. Deal with it. Okay, have a good one. Thank you for hanging out for a few. Yeah, car problem. They're great. My Tony the Tiger impression. All right. Just another minute and we'll get started. I know there's a couple more that want to get in. Anthony, what's up, man? You're sorry. That's all right. Thank you, but it's okay. We'll get it. We'll get a new one, get it fixed. Out of ride for what happened to yours? Is that the caddy? Oh, just went to the shop today. Lord, that's been like weeks ago, ain't it? It's been forever ago. You sub? Hey, thank you for the sub on YouTube. I appreciate that. Thank you. What broke? On Lee's car, he hit a deer with his little caddy. He decided to be pimping and bought a caddy and then hit a deer. They just got all the parts in. Cadillacs are very hard to get stuff for. Sometimes I feel like. Yeah, but that was it's been like a month or so that happened. All right, guys, we're 7.5 minutes in. I know I'm a little late. That's why I want to make sure I give time. We're gonna go ahead and get started real quick though. So it looks like we do have Fudge Printer Grill headlight. Yeah. So looks like we got some people on almost every platform coming in and hanging out today. So which is awesome. Thank you guys very much for that. Listen, if you're on the TikTok, don't forget hit the follow button, hit the likes while we're going through Bible study tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Follow buttons on Twitch, on Kick, on Facebook, because every Monday at 6 p.m. we do Bible study. What we do here. So the rest of the week I do stream my gaming, but Mondays at 6 is dedicated to Bible study. It's what we do. So make sure that you're following, make sure you're subbed, all of that stuff. So that way you can be here whenever we do this. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get it in. So last week we looked at we had the Pharisees and the Sadducees seeking for a sign, basically Jesus to tell them about this great big miraculous sign that was going to tell them when the end of the world was going to be here. And he more or less says, you can't see past the nose on your face. You're not going to catch the signs, because the signs that we have, that we look for, the signs that are coming, that the world is going to end, is actually laid out in the Bible. It tells us what to look for. It gives us those signs. But a lot of people have that trouble where they can't see past the nose of their face, and they don't pick up on the signs, or they don't want to see them. And then Jesus warns his disciples not to follow the doctrine that's being taught by the Sadducees and the Pharisees, just because it's a man doctrine, which is no good. They will teach you whatever they think they want you to hear to get you to benefit and to benefit them and get you to favor and look up to them. Gotta go. It's okay. So he says, be careful don't follow what they're saying because they're not leading you down the right path. Then he lets him kind of predicts. He gives a prediction onto his resurrection, his death, and his resurrection, and then talks about taking up your cross and following him. So now we're gonna go. Goodbye. Thank you for hanging out as long as you could. Appreciate it. Now we're gonna go. We're about 6 days later, and we're following Jesus and his disciples. And we're gonna look at something here that's gonna be pretty interesting, pretty special. It says, after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. Now, what he's saying here, why he only names three. These three people, Peter, James, and John, these are Jesus' inner circle. So out of the 12 disciples that do walk with him, these are the three that walk particularly closer to him. They are by his side nonstop, following wherever he goes. It doesn't matter the situation or the circumstance. They are right there with him 99% of the time, unless he sends the disciples off. They are there. They're the most tentative. They listen. They're trying to learn more than the others. If it's like if you look in a classroom, if you go to any school, you go in a classroom, you got a group of kids. You got kids that will pay more attention to others, even though they may be paying attention and learning. There's some that strive to learn more and are more tentative with their learning and making sure that they're right there. So that's what Peter, James, and John were. They were the ones that hung extra close to Jesus and learned. So they kind of held like a special place. They were his inner circle. And you will see those three names pop up in a couple other places as well. But he takes them and they go up into a high mountain apart. It says, and was transfigured before them. His face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. So what they seen, you guys see the pictures or the videos where it shows like Jesus standing in a white robe with his hands out like this and the light shining behind. This is essentially what they saw. And the Bible says they saw Elias or Elijah and Moses there with them talking. Now, Elisha was one of the people in the Old Testament that didn't actually die. He was carried off in a chariot of flames. He never actually died. There's two people from the Old Testament that never died. And Elisha was one of them. Moses went up on the mount and never came back down. He did, however, die, but God himself buried his body. But they seen this and seen what happened. It said, then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elias. Now, what Peter was trying to do was saying this was an amazing thing to see. Let's build a tabernacle. Let's kind of commemorate what we're seeing here and build tabernacles to the three of yous, because this is a special thing. But I said, while he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, arise and be not afraid. When they lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. Don't tell what you've seen here until the Son of Man, or me, Jesus is saying, is risen from the dead again. Risen again from the dead. So they don't say anything about this until after my resurrection. But, you know, so it says, his disciples asked him, saying, why then saith the scribes that Elias must come first? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall come first and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood. Now, I'm not going to say who spoke of at the moment, but they seen this. They seen this transfiguration. They heard the voice of God come down and say, "This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased." And, then they said, they kind of go back to it says that the Sadducees, the Pharisees, they say that Elias must come before the Messiah comes. Now, they're thinking Elisha returning as he was taken up with the chariot of fire, not being dead. They think that he'll return, and that his return will bring the Messiah back. They're stuck on the idea, and a lot of the Israelites actually today, a lot of them over there are still waiting for the Messiah to show. They do not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. They're waiting for him to come and establish. They think that the new kingdom, the new heavenly kingdom, will be an earthly kingdom and not a heavenly kingdom, not a spiritual kingdom. So they're actually still waiting for the Messiah to show up. They do not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. A lot believe that he was either just a prophet, or something like that. They don't actually believe that he was who he is. So you see that as well. Hey, may I give my testimony? Sure, you can put your testimony in chat. That's perfectly fine. But he said Elias must come first, and restore all things, which means bring back. Essentially talking about the Ten Commandments from the Old Testament, taking them and establishing the path and all the prophecy that was sent for the Messiah. He says, "Oh, I must come." I lost track. I'm really sorry for that, guys. So the scribe said Elias must come, which means they thought that he had to come. Jesus said Elias had already come, and he had to come to restore all things, setting in the path being paved for salvation. There had to have been one to come and testify and witness of the Messiah to come. They thought this was Elias before their Messiah would come. Jesus said Elias did actually come. It was here. He was here, but it's not like what they thought. John the Baptist is the Elias that he's talking about. John the Baptist came and actually paved the way for Jesus. He started to preach about the kingdom of heaven and start to talk about and update the idea of the Messiah coming. Now, Jesus ultimately is that Messiah. And he said that they did with him whatever they listed, which means they did whatever they wanted with him. You remember we read John the Baptist was beheaded for preaching a sinful life. So he said, they done to him whatever they listed. He goes, and likewise shall the Son of Man suffer of them as well. Which means he's telling them that he's going to be taken captive. They're going to physically abuse and beat him. They're going to do things to him. We will actually read a little bit further on exactly everything that happens to him. We'll read that between the four Gospels. So in this, he said the disciples didn't understand at first until he got done. He said, then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. John paved that way. John brought that in. Okay. Can I get a mod in Twitch? Do I have one over there? Really appreciate it. I need that stuff deleted. So it says, and when they were come to the multitude, they came to him a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed. For oft times he falleth into the fire and oft into the water. And I brought him unto thy disciples, and they could not cure him. So here we see this is Jesus and the 3 disciples that he had with him. Now, the other 9 disciples that were there, the other 9 that was in there, they did not go up on the mountain. He only took the 3 with him. The other 9 was still at the bottom of the mountain. They were still down there. They should have been doing they should have been down there still preaching, teaching, and doing what he gave them the ability to do, but they were not. That's not what they were doing. And this is kind of a good example of what happens when you kind of stray away from the Lord. He was up on the mountain. They were left down at the bottom. They were away from him. And because they were away from him, they weren't as close to him. Their faith lingered. It waved. They weren't able to do what they were supposed to do. The farther away from God, the farther we separate ourselves from the Lord, the farther we walk away from him. Thank you. The farther we walk away from him, the less connection we have and the less power we're going to have to overcome the temptations, the things of this world. So it's very important that we cling as close to the Lord as we can, that we stick as tight as possible and be like the inner circle, learn and be tentative as much as we can from him. It's very important to our Christian walk. But he said, I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. The child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart, and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. He says, For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. So they're like, why were we not able to do this? He said, because of your unbelief, because of the time you spent away from me, your faith wavered. You began to doubt your ability to do things. And it's like he said, you faith in perverse generation. How long am I going to be with you? How long can I suffer you? He's not going to be on this earth all the time. You're only going to get a short time with him. And he did. He spent 33 and a half years. After that 30, when he leaves this earth, we've got to be able to stay strong enough and to keep up with what we're doing. We've got to continue what he's called us to do. And this is the problem why they weren't able to do that. They got away from him. They kind of lingered. They did their own thing. Their faith became wavering, and they no longer had the power that he'd given them when he was close to them. While he was there with them, while he was walking with them and tight with them, they were able to do things because he was right by their side. But the minute he separates a little bit, they're a little bit farther apart. Their minds begin to wander. They begin to linger, and their faith wavers. And their belief becomes less. When that happens, you lose that ability. And he says, if you have the faith size of a grain of a mustard seed, he said, you can say unto this mountain, remove hence yonder place, and it shall remove. He says, nothing, absolutely nothing will be impossible unto you. I have seen miracles happen. And I know I've talked about them before. I've mentioned them on here before, I'm pretty sure. But listen, I have seen things like somebody that should have never been out of a wheelchair. Doctor said he would never walk again. I watched him get up out of a wheelchair and walk across the front of a church. It's crazy what can happen. I've seen people that had curves in their spines that one leg was longer than the other. I've watched them right before my eyes grow and match the other. Hand grow and match the other. People gain their hearing back. There was people that were completely deaf that once they were prayed over, the preacher could walk all the way to the back of the church. They stayed all the way in the front. If you look at the picture here, whether no matter what way you're seeing this, but if you look at the picture, and it's this very church that I've seen stuff like this happen, all the way up by the pulpit. If you come all the way back past where the camera view sets right there, with the way the picture is taken, that the preacher could whisper from the back and they could hear them in the front. I've seen this stuff happen. I have witnessed this. Now, I can't tell you about miracles that I haven't witnessed for myself that I don't know happen, but I can tell you about these. I can tell you this. I know for a fact there was a woman that was ate up with cancer. It was in her blood. It was in her bone, in her muscle. It was all over her from head to toe, in her brain. It covered her lungs. She was absolutely ate up with it. We had somebody stand in for her and we anointed prayer over them. The next time she went back to the doctor, she had one scan. That scan told them that she was just completely engulfed in cancer. Ate up. Head to toe. There was nothing else the doctors were doing. They gave her a few months to live. That was it. They went and done a scan a few weeks later, and the doctor didn't even have the words to know to say, there's not an ounce of cancer in your body. I said, there's not an ounce of cancer left in your body. I don't know what happened. I don't know where it all went. He said, the doctor said, you are a miracle. All we did was anoint somebody in her place because she couldn't get out. The husband didn't. The pastor of the church at the time worked construction with the husband. They were best friends. And that's how we come to find out about what was going on. All we did was just anoint somebody to stand in for her. A few weeks later, when the next scan came, completely cured of cancer from head to toe. Brain cancer, blood cancer. This is stuff you don't get cured from. Brain cancer, you're completely engulfed in cancer and it's covered lung. It's on your bones. Once it hits your bones, once it hits certain organs, that's just it. Without an intervention from God, there's nothing anybody can do. She got that intervention. I've seen this stuff work. I know it worked. So he says, if you have faith, a grain of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain to be moved forth, and the mountain will be moved. He says, howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. How do you keep the belief up? How do you keep faith up? How do you maintain this faith? By prayer and fasting. Reading the word, studying the word, getting to know it, getting in there, having a closer walk with the Lord. That's how this stuff happens. And you're like, I didn't see these miracles. I don't believe them. This stuff is hard to believe. And I don't blame you. If I see it, it would be hard for me to believe it too. I've seen it. I have seen this stuff happen. I've watched it happen with my very own eyes. You don't have to take my word for it. That's perfectly fine. I'm just telling you what I've witnessed and what I know. Okay. So it says, and while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, the Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him. And the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry. There he is warning them again of his death and his resurrection, saying, hey, this is going to happen. He's preparing them for these events. He's already told them once. Now he's told them again, this is going to happen. Be prepared. Watch for this. It's coming. And it's not that far from where we're at now. It says, and when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, doth not your master pay tribute? And he saith, Yes. And when he was come to the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers? And Peter saith unto him, Of strangers. And Jesus saith unto him, Then are the children free? Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast an hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. Take that and give unto them for me and thee. Paying the tribute, paying the stuff. Is Jesus above paying the tribute? Jesus paid the tribute, and he did it on purpose. Peter says, well, of course. Jesus says, well, they pay the tribute. Who do they pay it to? Who's the tribute going to? So Jesus did his best in his walk down here. Well, he didn't do his best. He did it because he could. Anything, the Bible tells us that we have to obey the laws of the land unless they go against the Bible. Now, the only time that we can ignore the laws that are being established or written in is when they go against the Bible. But other than that, we are to obey the laws of the land. You know, your speeding tickets, when you break the law and you speed, that's breaking the law of the land. As Christians, we're supposed to obey that. Now, we don't look at things like that way. We don't pay attention. And we're like, well, what's that got to do with God? What's, how fast I drive down the road got to do with God? But it does. The Bible tells us we're to obey the laws of the land. We're to watch that stuff, obey it, keep it in mind, and follow those until they break the laws of the Bible. When they break the word of God, when they go against what God said to do. And I'm not going to mention any of the topics. You know some of what I'm talking about when it comes to the law on those things. But he said we're to follow those laws. A lot of people's like, well, I don't have to obey the land. There's so many people. Oh my Lord. There's a bunch of YouTube videos about people like this that think that because they claim to go by the laws of the Bible, they don't have to obey the laws of man. But if they actually paid attention to the Bible, they would know that it tells them to follow the laws of man. But that's not here. We're not getting real deep into that. But Jesus made sure that he did not break any laws. He didn't give anybody any reason to combat him, to arrest him, or anything like that. He didn't do anything like that to offend anybody or anything like that. He remained on the good side of that. And that was for a purpose, because, when it come time for them to take hold of him, for them to capture him, they had to make sure that, for one, he's completely innocent. He was an innocent man. There was no reason to take him. He's not going to give them reason to do so. So if it comes to paying tribute, and the tribute was paid to Caesar anyway, which is the strangers that he talks about. It says of their own children or of strangers. It's talking about, is the tribute paid to the Jews, or is the tribute paid to, to Romans? And of course, Peter said the tribute's paid to the Romans. The tribute was paid to Caesar. So he said, we'll pay the tribute. Go down to the fish, go down, catch fish. Inside the fish will be a piece of money. Grab it. Pay the man. This will be for you and for me both. So whatever the coin that was grabbed out of the fish's mouth was enough to pay for him and Peter, pay the tribute for him and Peter to be there. So, so we have an obligation to follow the law until it breaks, goes against the word of God. We have an obligation as Christians to follow the law too. We're supposed to do that. Okay. All right. Okay. That's the end of chapter 17. Pretty good chapter. I like it. I like all the chapters though. I like going through them. There's so much good stuff in there. But anyway, so we learned a lot today. We learned a little bit. Don't forget, we'll be here next week, 6 o'clock. Listen, we are live on multiple platforms. We've got TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Kick. If you're in my Discord, I started doing a screen share in the Discord. You can get in there and actually watch it in the Discord channel as well. And hear the Bible study there if you like. If not, it's fine. You don't have to. It's just something that I started doing just in case somebody don't actually want to set in these. So, but other than that, thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate you all. We'll do this again next week at 6 o'clock. You guys have any questions? Let me know. All right. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night and God bless.
Well, when I left my father's house, I was supplied. I made a mistake and I did wrong.